Welcome back to the Lawn Hustle Podcast, where we talk about the business side of the green industry, the stuff that can actually help you build a better business, make more money, and get your life back. Today, we're talking about something that a lot of lawn care businesses struggle with, and that is delegation. This is the third podcast of our 5 podcast series called the CEO series. You want to think like a CEO, you want to act like a CEO, and you want to conduct your business like a CEO. I'm not going to be talking about just telling someone, hey, go do that. But I'm talking about learning how to actually delegate. Because there is a big difference in just telling someone to go do something and training and teaching and mentoring your employee to be able to step in and perform duties and tasks that are necessary. A lot of business owners say, I can't find good help. Nobody can do it like I can. It's faster if I just do it myself. And before you know it, you're running the business, you're answering the phone, you're doing the estimates, you're mowing the lawns, fixing the equipment, dealing with customers, ordering supplies and material, handling payroll, and probably doing 100 other things. And then you wonder why you're exhausted. Here's the problem. You haven't built a business. You've built a job where you're the employee of your own company. And today we're going to talk about how to break that cycle. Let's start with one of the biggest traps in the business, the I will do it myself trap. I've said it, you've said it. And honestly, sometimes it's true. Sometimes it's just easier to do it myself. There are things that you may need to do yourself, especially when you're building the company. But eventually, that mindset becomes a ceiling that you can't go any higher than that ceiling. Because if everything depends on you, your business can only grow as fast as you can personally work. Think about it. If you're the only person who can talk to customers, build estimates, schedule jobs, train employees, handle complaints, manage the crews, order the material, maintain the equipment, do the bookkeeping, check for quality, make marketing decisions, then guess what? You're the bottleneck of your own company. And you can't scale a business when you're the bottleneck. Delegation doesn't mean giving away your responsibilities. Here's something very important. Delegation doesn't mean you're giving away your responsibilities. You're giving away tasks, but you still are responsible for the result. That's a major difference. If you tell an employee, go trim these shrubs, that's not really delegation. That's just assigning a task to someone. Real delegation sounds like, here's the property, here's what we're trying to accomplish, here's the standard, here's what good looks like, here's what to watch for. And when you're finished, I want you to inspect your work before leaving. Now you're developing somebody. You're teaching them how to work. And that's the goal. You don't just want employees who can follow instructions. You want people who can make good decisions without you standing over them. Delegate the right things. You have to learn what only you can do. You have to learn what can be delegated, and you have to learn what can be eliminated. So, what should you delegate? Start by looking at everything you do during the week. Make a list. Then divide those responsibilities into 3 categories. These are the things that require the owner to do. Leadership, vision, major financial decisions, company direction, building relationships, developing your leadership team. Those are things that shouldn't automatically be handed out. Category number 2, things that someone else can be trained to do. This is where delegation starts. Scheduling, inventory, equipment checks, customer follow-ups, quality control inspections, crew leadership, material ordering, basic estimates, administrative work. And there are probably a dozen of things on your plate that someone else can handle with proper training. And then there's what I said, what can be eliminated. This is the unfortunate one. There are probably things you're doing that don't add enough value to justify your time. Maybe you're spending an hour every day doing something that someone else can handle for $20 an hour. Meanwhile, you're supposed to be generating thousands of dollars in revenue, leading your team, developing your business, and taking care of your best customers. That's not productive. When you're doing all the things that you can delegate, you're not being productive. Don't delegate chaos. It's a huge mistake that business owners make. They delegate something that's not even organized. They say, I'm tired of doing this, you do it. And then they wonder why it doesn't work. You can't delegate chaos and expect somebody else to magically create order. Before you delegate something, you need to define the process. Ask yourself what needs to be done, how should it be done, what standard are we looking for, what mistakes need to be avoided, and how do we know when it's done correctly. That becomes your system, something that can be repeated consistently. And once you have a system, you can train somebody else to follow it. Train, delegate, and inspect. Here's a simple formula I want you to remember. Train, delegate, and inspect. First, train the person. Don't assume they know what you know. Show them. Explain why it matters. Let them do it. Correct them. And then let them do it again. Once they're ready, delegate that responsibility. But don't disappear. Inspect. That's where a lot of owners get delegation wrong. They think delegation means it's not my problem anymore. No, you still need to be accountable. You need quality control. You need measurements. You need to follow up. In last week's episode, I said what is measured can be managed. If you never inspect what you expect, your standards are eventually going to slip. Give people some ownership. Here's where delegation gets really powerful. Don't just give somebody tasks. Give them ownership of an area. Instead of make sure the trucks are clean, try you're responsible for our fleet being clean, organized, fueled, and ready to go every morning. Sounds different, don't it? Now that person has ownership. They aren't waiting for you to tell them every little thing to do. They're responsible for the outcome. And that's how you start developing leaders inside of your company. Stop micromanaging. Let's talk about the other side of delegation. You can't tell somebody, I want you to take this responsibility and then call them every 15 minutes asking, did you do it? How did it go? How did you do it? Are you sure? Why did you do it that way? That's micromanagement. There is a difference in micromanagement and delegation. When you micromanage, it's not real delegation because you're still trying to pull all the strings. Once you train an employee and you delegate a task to them, give them the freedom and the liberty to do what you have asked them to do. And they are going to make mistakes. So will you. The question isn't, will they make a mistake? The question is, can we learn from those mistakes? And can we build a better system to make this more successful or more efficient? Delegation frees you to lead. This is the whole point of today's episode. You're not delegating because you're lazy. You're delegating because your highest value job is leadership. Think about what happens when you get some of your time back. Instead of spending 6 hours working in the business, maybe you spend 2 hours working in the business and 4 hours working on the business. You can meet with your team. You can improve your systems. You can talk with customers. You can work on marketing, renew or review your numbers. We talked about that last week, the importance of your pricing, knowing your numbers, know where you are so you can determine how you're going to get to where you want to be. You can develop your leaders, look for new opportunities. That's what leadership is. And your company needs you doing those things if you want to grow and scale your business. The delegation challenge. Take out a piece of paper. Write down everything you personally did over the last 7 days. Everything. Then look at that list and ask yourself, does this really require me? If the answer is no, then ask, who could I train to do this? Then pick one thing, not 20. One thing. Build the process. Train somebody. Delegate it. Inspect it. And then move on to the next thing. That's how you start getting your time back so you can lead. Here's the biggest lesson that I want you to take away from this episode. Your goal isn't to become the best person at doing every job in your company. Your goal is to build a company where great people can do great work without needing you involved in every decision. Because eventually, you have to make a choice. You can either continue being the person who does everything, or you can become the person who leads everyone. And there's a huge difference. Delegation isn't about doing less. It's about making your time more valuable. Stop being the bottleneck. Stop thinking nobody can do it like me. Train your people. Build your systems. Set the standard and hold people accountable. And then get out of the way. Just enough to let them grow. Because when you free yourself from the work that somebody else can do, you finally have the time to do the work that only you can do. That's leadership. And that's how you build a business instead of just building yourself a good job. Now get out there, build something great, and stop trying to do it all yourself. And I'll see you on the next episode of the Lawn Hustle.